Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we have another match in the Hearthstone Trash Bowl tournament, sponsored by TrashcanTV and also hosted by us, that is TrashcanTV. We have GameKat versus Crowncooker, and it appears that GameKat is gonna start off with his Zoo Warlock while Crowncooker is playing the Combo Priest. So GameKat banned the Warrior, Crowncooker banned the Hunter, and let's see where this goes. The Warlock starting off with arguably the strongest one-drop you can wish for, that being the Flame Imp, as well as having pretty much any 2-drop you would want to play, besides maybe the Knife Juggler on hand right now. Priest, a little more reliant on lucky draws and not really having it right now. I don't necessarily categorically hate the Spearing Sidekick, but it's not a good 1-drop, especially if you can't even trade it into anything effectively. So he's just gonna pass. I think it's Direwolf time right about now, maybe Cable Rat. Both definitely have their place here. I don't think it's Evil Genius time. That seems like a really bad play. Murmy seems like just mana inefficient. I don't hate the Rat right now. You might say that Direwolf is more aggressive and faster right now, but you can play the Direwolf when you have 2 minions for maximum effect, so that does definitely make sense. And it seems like Crowncooker might just be considering coining out the Injured Blade Master. And that's what it's gonna be. The Injured Blade Master here, of course... Oh, we're right. Yeah, Circle of Healing, otherwise it would have died to the Flame Imp. Good choice there for sure. Now, if you're GameKat, I don't think you want to necessarily concern yourself that much right now with the trade, and you probably just want to hammer as much damage as you can into face. Zoo Warlock is one of the few decks that might be aggressive enough that it can allow to do that. Especially with a relatively strong start with the Flame Imp here. Direwolf coming down, I would assume it's just going to be hit, and then Witchy Lackey. Probably upgrading the Cable Rat, because a 2-mana 1/1 is the one with the highest expected return. Ratcatcher, not necessarily that great. I think it's just pass. I don't think you'd kill a Ratcatcher. Yeah, just pass the turn. Now, Crowncooker is starting to get going here. The Divine Spirit is definitely what you want. Now, without Inner Fire, that doesn't really get you anywhere. You might consider doing it anyways. The other option, of course, would be Light Warden and Heal Face. Light Warden should reasonably provoke a trade, so that at least delays you a little bit. And yeah, we also have the option to trade away, of course. I say option, it's probably more of a necessity. Plays Beaming Sidekick for buffs and Nephicid Ritualist for full healing, that makes a lot of sense. You can now look into your calculations for the combo, because Divine Spirit Inner Fire is now 18, and the Warlock is going to self-damage a little bit. You have two other sources with 3 total points of damage on your board right now. And yeah, as the Warlock, Voidwalker is a really underrated card in this matchup. If you can clear the smaller things off the board, the one thing that might kill you in a single turn would be stopped by a Voidwalker. Now, granted, in the current situation, the Voidwalker will just die to trade, so you probably have to at least take out the Beaming Sidekick if you want to make that happen. And of course, Holy Ripple is on the opponent's hand. GameKat would not know that. But yeah, Evil Genius should reasonably eat the Murmy, maybe the Witchy Lackey. See what you can get Lackey-wise. Decides to kill the Lackey, leaving space on the board that you might need. Double Ethereal is a little unfortunate. Crowncooker drawing the Northshire Cleric for, well, draw. Injured Blade Master could trade into the Taunt. You could maybe then even produce a crazy Holy Ripple turn. Light Warden, of course, also buffed by that. So that seems to be where this is going. Getting a Holy Ripple turn that heals 4 times, drawing 4 cards, which is huge, and also making a very sizable Light Warden. Now the Light Warden will be dealt with, of course, but now you're forcing all of a sudden the Zoo player into a more defensive position, where at least you have to kill the Light Warden. Sea Giant huge right now. The other nice thing about the Sea Giant is that you can play your entire board, your entire hand, including the generated lackey, and still play the Sea Giant because it's got to be free at that point. And ooh, I think it sends demons at this point. You do still have one Voidwalker, one Flame Imp in your deck, and even the worthless imps are, as opposed to what their name might suggest, actually not that bad. Of course, you're not going to play any of this turn. Corruption makes sense. Corruption is actually, now that I think about it, is the best way to deal with that Blade Master. The Blade Master is not a threat this turn, but once the Inner Fire combo happens, it's going to be, of course, very dangerous. So it is not too senseless to do that. I would have traded here. I would have played the Sea Giant. Of course, the trade's not allowing you to do that. It does make sense to keep it for later when the board is maybe a little cleaner, but there's nothing on your board right now that can kill it. Inner Fire is, of course, always a threat to think about, so I can see what goes in there. Yeah, Nephroset Ritualist. It's not gonna heal that Blade Master. You gotta probably just produce Ahmet, take the trade with the Blade Master, probably kill the rest of the stuff off, because the Warlock can be explosive. And then just see what you can do next turn. And of course the injured Blade Master and Tolvir not looking too bad. On hand there, it's definitely now a more equal matchup than it was a couple turns ago, and Priest always has the chance to just go ballistic in one turn. Ethereal Lackey, great chance to kill the Northshire Cleric. Drain Life can go face, that is worthy noting, but Sinister Deal seems like the strongest card. You don't care enough about Sacrificial Pact, I think. It is a really good heal, but you're sacking one of your creatures, and you are the aggressive deck, so you don't really need it. Again, Drain Life can go face, that is why it makes sense to pick that. Sinister Deal, I guess the calculation here is what do you expect to get? If you get a Cobalt Lackey, that's the same thing as if you just Drain Life, except that you also have 1/1 body, and you're paying 1 less mana. If it's faceless, you're getting more board control, so I don't fully agree with this choice, but it definitely is by no means that far-fetched. Buffing the Ahmet, getting, wow, 18 health, and if you want also attack on there, this turn, you're asking the Warlock to deal with it, and you've seen one Corruption come out of an Ethereal Lackey, and you know there is removal, and honestly, if I was GameKat in this situation, I might have picked Demon Bolt if it came up, so it's not far-fetched to assume single target removal, but also you gotta win at some point. You're putting up taunts with a lot of health, you still have Inner Fire in your deck, and you could deal a huge blow in one turn. Yeah, Leroy isn't gonna do anything, and yeah, that's the game. A little unfortunate towards the end there for GameKat, but at least we're we're seeing a strong performance by an OTK Priest, and I think we like that. All right. We're seeing a Priest once again. It's once again the same combo Priest, this time on the other side of the screen, and by same I mean the same archetype, not the exact same decklist, of course. Against the Tempo Rogue that Crowncooker is bringing. So, like a lot of people, GameKat making the choice to switch off the losing deck. And really strong starting hand. The question always is, what do you want to play more in this case? I think it might be Cleric, because the Light Warden doesn't really get going until way too late. Or, well, not way too late, but well, actually way too late, yeah, because by the time then it's dead. Yeah, Kellerat coming up as a very sensible turn 2, presumably for Crowncooker, although it is a little awkward with the Cleric. Decides to go with a Dagger instead, keeping it equipped. Again, you don't want to give your opponent the draw. I definitely see why you do that. And yeah, Indral Tolvir coming up. And now your opponent definitely has that draw next turn. So now you probably play the Rat, and now you can actually then also get the use of the Lackey. I don't even know which Lackey you'd want most in this situation, but I assume it's just faceless for the push. You could take Flame and actually kill off the Tolvir. Yeah, Cobalt Lackey, that is.
This guy's toast.
Tempos out the SI7. don't know what to think about that. On the one hand, I can see how you can use the stats. On the other hand, you can't even kill the Tolvier. Well, you can kill the Tolvier with weapon and that. It's a little bit of an awkward play, but sometimes you have to make these.
In the light's name.
Light Ward and healing. Producing both the draw and of course the damage. Coming from Light Warden, which of course Crowncooker has the sap, and you can somewhat anticipate the sap being there, but you can't guarantee that's there this turn. So yeah, currently strong position from GameKat, relatively weak position from Crowncooker, but the sap can potentially turn the game around at any point. The question for Crowncooker is, do you sap this Light Warden, which is not a huge threat yet, or do you wait until there is actually a very significant threat and then sap that? I think it might just be the latter, because saps are, well, limited to 2 usually, and against a combo priest, you are expecting to see larger buffs than this. Now, from a tempo perspective, I can definitely see the appeal here, and also your opponent is likely going to get at least one more heal in before that attack, so you're effectively saving yourself at least from 5 damage, and making sure you can kill it easier when it comes down the next time. So this really comes down to, do you think you have a sap by the time you need one again? Which actually you don't, because, my bad, this is a Highlander deck, the Rogue, of course, if you've looked at the playlist, at the deck list beforehand. And he won't have a second sap. He could get one off of his Zephyrs, of course, or something else that could destroy a minion. Hex, anything like that. So, not even the regular Tempo Rogue, of course. So you are playing around with a little limited resources. Zephyr's also not yet seen, although that is to be expected. A lot of the higher drop cards that are in here as opposed to the regular Tempo Rogue, all being on hand, making the next few turns a little awkward, but then giving you impact turn after impact turn after that. Has a, what is this even? A Saket Sapper drawn. It's a nice card to have. If you can't reliably trigger it, so you're going for lackeys here, that makes sense. And Goblin Lackey makes a lot of sense to kill off the North Shore Cleric. As much as Faceless Lackey is arguably the better one for you in general, in the situation where you have to trade, Goblin is definitely very strong. Also, the thing you put the Goblin on stays alive, so it's effectively also a 1-attack buff. Drawing almost equal with the Faceless there. Injured Blade Master potentially coming up. Yeah, that doesn't do anything, but there is the Nephesite Ritualist after the trade potentially coming up. And yeah, it's tough when you got Ahmed out. There's so many targets for the combo, and as the rogue player, you're looking at a very tough situation. Because you used your sap earlier, not that it really deals with the Ahmed, but at least it would delay it. And we of course see GameKat already having one Divine Spirit on hand. So, look at the current board state, that one Divine Spirit plus an Inner Fire would already be very close to enough. Of course we see hitting into Ahmed, Sapper coming up, Dagger. It's just trying to do as much damage as you can to the Ahmed to kill it, but also you're facing a priest. They have a lot of healing. And silence, which I think we have a good target for that on the board right now, because this Sapper could potentially make problems for you. Especially once you start buffing things more. So I could definitely see that being silenced. The question is, do you want to... I don't think you want to play a pirate with a just to kill the Miscreant. That seems a little too big. You could probably just trade one of your 2-attack minions in there. It's way more sensible. You'd like to have a Circle of Healing at this point, but I think you'll just settle with healing the Ahmed with your hero power. Maybe you put out the Acolyte, hoping to pick off some cards. I mean, optimally more than one, but of course, that's always hard. We know Siamat is up on the hand, so it's not gonna happen. But, yeah, interesting to see what's gonna happen here. Yeah, I mean, 5 health, not gonna protect you from Siamat. Siamat very likely gonna kill both of those cards. I think you're not that aggressive as the priest. You probably should have taken that trade. Especially because you have a lot of low health minions. But Siamat coming up. Wind Fury Rush, I would assume. Would then take out the Amat and as also the Acolyte Fate. So I assume you're going for the Acolyte. Okay. Goes for the highest health minion. From a countering the combo standpoint, I can understand it. But also, you are preventing draws if you kill it right now. Granted, the priest doesn't have any ways to damage it himself, so without any other minions on the board it still makes sense. But I'm not sure if the 1 point of... Oh yeah, right. Yeah, I guess being at 12 health, the 1 point of damage can make a significant difference. And I spoke too soon when it comes to the self-damaging ways. Because at 12 health, having a 6 health minion on the board, of course, with Divine Spirit Innerfire, is significantly more dangerous than it would be against something else. And yes, exactly, it comes down to that. Divine Spirit Innerfire on hand, had his minion had 6 health, would have been dead. That being said, had his minion had 6 health, it wouldn't have been the Acolyte, would not have had those cards. So, it's a trade-off to consider there. I want to say the combo coming down next turn probably means that that was the wrong choice. That doesn't do that much except for drawing you an additional card, dealing 1 extra damage. This is gonna be a little awkward because you kind of have to consider the Divine Spirit Innerfire scenario. Now you don't, but you would have had to consider it. How many pyro triggers do I have? But with healing would have worked. All of a sudden, game flipped again. While you were still at full health as a priest, with your opponent being at 10, you didn't run Mind Blast in this deck. You have to get through this board somehow, without dying. Yeah, Tolvir, probably Light Warden and Holy Ripple, just to deal with the Amalgam. Gives you a decent sized Light Warden so that your opponent can't really trade up. You can heal the Tolvir to full with hero power. I don't think you put it to 12 attack, to 12 health, and then also probably attack with Divine Spirit Innerfire. But you just might, because then your opponent has to run his entire board into it, and you still have the Light Warden. And then next turn, if you can get 1 or 2 extra healing procs in from somewhere, that Light Warden could just win you the game. Or otherwise over 2 turns. Decides not to do it, and I think this is the reasonable play, but Divine Spirit here would have definitely made strategic sense to some degree. You know your opponent does not have the second sap. You do know that they do have Zephyrs though, which could also do this. Wonders Wand, very good choice here. Preps into it, gives you 3 more cards to potentially play this turn. And there's Zephyrs. And you just might play it. Backstab is also huge. The question is, do you play Zephyrs? Because you're not winning by playing Zephyrs, and your opponent doesn't have direct face damage around a taunt. Play same side for the board, could have played the next turn with a little more stats in there, but fair enough. Yeah, and now this is the problem you run into with combo priests sometimes. Full combo, no minions. And there was just no way around that, so GameKat actually going down 0-2, Crowncooker down to his final deck. I always say this, but when your opponent has 2 wins, you at least know what to expect. And in this case, you are expecting Shaman. And if I'm not misremembering, it's Quest Shaman, so yeah. So yeah, Shaman coming up, being the only remaining deck for Crowncooker. GameKat knows what to deal with at this point. It is Quest Shaman, it's the only deck that is left, so you know what is coming up. And chose to go with the Priest. Is that the best matchup against the Shaman? I don't know. But if it's a deck you're most comfortable facing the Shaman with, definitely lead with that. That's a bit of an aggressive play. On the one hand I can see why you want to be aggressive, on the other hand, you don't have any healing targets next turn. You know the quest is coming down. So, now what? Are you gonna play the Torvir next probably? So this doesn't really run into any direct punishment this turn unless it's Red into, or even now Slurper, into Cobalt Lackey. But it isn't. Still play Ethereal Lackey, of course. Eureka seems pretty bad. Now that, however, seems pretty good. Zap, you can deal with the Lightworm right away. You do only have 1 mana on your next turn now. Being overloaded by 2 this early in the game can be a little annoying. But also, as the Priest player, do you put down the Injured Blade Master or do you heal your existing minion? Now, normally, I'm all for healing. But the chance of the Injured Torvir surviving longer aren't that high. But the Blade Master dying this turn is very unlikely, so you might actually consider playing the Blade Master because you have enough base minions to buff here. So you don't absolutely need to Torvir exactly go face, because your opponent is going to be making the trades. So you don't have to, in this case, because your opponent doesn't really have a choice what to trade. So you're going ahead and you're saying like, okay, I want to go closer to one of those magic numbers. If I can get you to below 28, which is currently the case, then any of my 7 health minions, which I have a lot of, plus double Divine Spirit Inner Fire, is lethal. Hero Power and Cable Red, okay. Central Elephant doesn't really get you anywhere because it does still not deal with the Blade Master. So it does make sense not to play it. Yeah, now you probably just plop down Ahmed. Now you just go for it. You get 4 more damage from the Blade Master. This is the one turn where you might just consider minimizing damage to Ahmed by killing off everything, but yeah, okay. We have the Witchy Lackey, of course, also making the Evil Cable Red more valuable than it looks. With the follow-up Wasp to potentially kill the Blade Master, it sounds weird, but you're not going to be able to kill Ahmed this turn. The question is, do you start damaging him? Or do you rather take as much control of the board as you can? I think you want to control the board, because then you have 7 attack on the board. Which also, of course, brings some questions to the Priest. Do you hit with Ahmed? In this case, maybe not, maybe just Divine Spirit. Yeah, I think Divine Spirit on Ahmed, just keep going face. Maybe trade off the Lackey, but I don't think so. Okay, goes for the 14 health Pyro, that makes sense. Having a secondary minion, knowing that your opponent probably can't deal that well with 2. Questing Explorer, useful. Not gonna save you right now. Now, granted, right now you don't need saving, there's just 5 attack on the board, but the way the Priest works, at any point that can be 17. Which is a lot more scary. Well, Para definitely making sense here. Farsight is generally pretty good. Blazing Invocation could potentially get you something useful both for your deck, archetype, and maybe in this matchup. But none of these are immediately helpful. I think I like the potential of Blazing the most, but Mystery Choice just might be, well, the choice, because you're hoping to get something more helpful. And that ain't it. Hero Power becoming available. You of course don't want to use it this turn. You also kind of lost the chance to draw a card with the Questing Adventurer. Maybe you should play that before the Scoundrel. But then again, you probably want to play the card that comes off the Scouter, which is always one of those dilemmas. I mean, Power Word Shield on the Pyro definitely looks pretty good right now. Or on the Ahmed, either way works. Rosha Cleric Circle, I feel like looking pretty good all of a sudden. And that is a lot of cards to draw.
Is someone injured?
Again, right now you're just looking for the Mind Spirit and Inner Fire. Even takes the trade first to while reducing the draw a little bit. Not, I think you would have probably just taken the circle and trade later, but yeah. Psycho Palm, of course, being huge with Ahmed in general. And again, right now you're just looking for that, those two cards, and you didn't play around. Yeah, that's that ended up costing you. Not playing around MC Tech, always risky. And in this case, taking the draw. The problem here being that what of course, from GameKat's perspective, what you wanted to do is Holy Ripple to draw 3 cards next turn. All of a sudden, that's not possible. You can still get a big Light Warden, but all of a sudden you're also behind on board. Yeah, this is a awkward situation, and of course, once again going wide. So we know there's a second MC Tech, so but yeah, Holy Ripple not that effective this turn. I mean, I do understand why you'd play it, but you're killing off 1 minion and allowing yourself 1 optimized trade. You're also letting your opponent draw cards, so that's fun. Decides to commit as much to the board as possible, thinking about just pushing it all into face next turn to win. Psycho Pump deals with the Light Warden, just from what's on board. You have the Mogu on hand, who can deal another 3, so you're not as ahead on the board as you think, is the problem. So right now, the reason why, as the Shaman, you take a lot of time is just because there's a lot of options. And Mogu Flesh Shaper, heading to something that's not a Light Ward and then mutating it, pretty good. That's a Cauldron Elemental. That's not going to have any synergy in your deck. Well, actually it does with the Sandstorm a little bit, but it has no major synergy in your deck, but it's still very helpful. Yeah, now you can hit the Cleric and something into the 9/4. Yeah, that's still 10. That's lethal. I wonder if there was a miss somewhere. Alright, Crowncooker still by force on the Quest Shaman. GameKat now playing the Zoo Warlock again. And of course, we've now seen that GameKat has the game plan to beat the Druid and the Shaman, sorry. And that is to just hit him in the face. That seems to work. So I assume we got Macro coming up, or maybe Murmy. They are basically the same card. And yeah, that's reasonable. Yeah, Quest Explorer is really good. That allows you to pick off some of the minions later on. And if you're the Shaman, you know you have to stay in control of the board. We've seen that last game, and we'll probably see it here again. Cavalry coming up because Scarab Egg isn't that good unless you have the thing to kill it. Okay, decides to take the trade. That does leave you with a wider board. but I'm not sure if you're really that concerned about it. Or if you should be that concerned about it, rather. Faces, of course, being the perfect lackey here, besides maybe Titanic. And it seems like we're getting a lot of rat action here. We might get another one. We might also get Sinister Deal. Has the advantage that you have the choice of what you're getting, more or less. Being able to choose one of 3 lackeys of 6 total. And I guess, yeah, I was about to say it's Cobalt to take off the 3-2. That makes sense. And I think it's just Mecru and go face with everything. Of course, that will be a little awkward when Life Trigger comes down the turn after, but your opponent is the control deck here. They are gonna make the trades. If you can make a trade that's better than what they can do, you just go face and let them do the trades. Because then you're at least getting a little bit of extra damage in there. Of course, you are playing a little bit around the Wasp by killing off the lackeys. That's relevant. But yeah. Yeah, Witchy Lackey, of course, and the Novice Engineer. Or some Commander, not that strong. Quest is done. And this just might be where we start seeing GameKat fall behind again. It just might be Kalorat. See what lackey you get and then Grim Rally on the Mecharoo. Or on one of the lackeys, but you probably want to use the Mecharoo. Oh, decides to go for the Scarab Egg. That's also not a bad choice. Of course, you're getting more minions. Sadly, Death Rattles trigger after Grim Rally, so you're getting 1/1s out of it, not 2/2s. It's very important. If it wasn't that way, Scarab Egg would be significantly stronger in the archetype. By no means a bad card, but yeah, see, now you're going face, and now your opponent's gonna start trading off, and you're gonna probably lose both lackeys. The turn where you can finally put the Khan down, which is when you'd want the lackeys to be there. So, Also, of course, the Life Trigger is not only being the only thing that is very relevant here for healing, but also the Giggling Inventor potentially locking down the board in a couple of turns. Bog Slosher allowing the reuse of any of the Battlecry cards. Decides to go face with a Slurper, presumably because he wants to... Okay, doesn't actually lock it in yet, but I assume the thought here is Bog Slosher. Get another lackey out of it. But you have the rat. I think you can get away with the trade.
You belong to the bar now.
It doesn't trade, okay? That does, of course, give you more stats right now. There's always a trade-off. If you put out the lack... Doesn't put the Slurper down, actually. I think we're gonna see the Khan now. Yeah. Giving the instant stat boost to the Kobalaki there. Protecting the Lackey and the Khan. Maybe a little unnecessarily, but definitely taking back control of the board. Having a lot of stats on there. You are trying to beat your opponent down after all. Slap Slurper as a 4-3, of course, a little more threatening. The Goblin Lackey allow you to trade off against anything, but of course, plays the other Slurper first, because that one will also have 4 attack with the Goblin Lackey. And that also works, sure. You can kill both of them, yeah, right, because it also triggers twice, yeah. So, and all of a sudden you go from having 9 damage on board to having 1 damage on board. And I guess it's Knife Juggler. Hit the Mecharoo into face. Evil Genius, play both lackeys.
Put this apple on your head.
Because that way you're getting 3 juggles, and you're getting all the lackey stuff. If you get 1 kobold, you can probably take out the... Well, you can actually get 4 juggles because you have a faceless there. Titanic on the Genius, protecting the Knife Juggler. Although, I would have probably played the faceless first. Seeing what 2-drop you're getting, maybe put the Titanic on there. It being the Scarab Collector, of course, not doing it, but, you know, if it was a 2-3, you probably would have rather put it on there. Minor thing, but especially with 6 attack on the board, very much worth considering. Ethereal Lackey. We're seeing Lightning Storm. I think you want to pick that. Yeah. You can't play this turn, which is unfortunate. Hegatha Scheme. Yeah. I mean, why not? Haunting Vision is also really good. I could see the appeal of the Scheme, because you probably don't have to ever deal more than 4 at a time. Titanic Lackey of Zone. Trades off the Knife Juggler, as you should. And yeah, now Cable Rat, Lackey, Sea Giant. I feel like these plays aren't that complicated. Granted, you're still considering if you want to tap or not. Does tap. Can still play the Lackey and the Giant. No! Why not play the Lackey too? It's a Sea Giant after all, it gets reduced. I mean, you're already running into MC Tech. So, at this point, having 6 minions is better than having 5. And it's a 4-4. I think this matters. Siamat, Rush, and either Windfury or Lifesteal. Oh wait, sorry, the Lifesteal isn't an option. Sorry, Windfury, of course. And you're killing off the 4-4s. And then you have to trade off the rest. Okay, or that. Could have killed off the 4-4 trade off the rest, leave an 8-8. Now this way you're leaving 7 damage on board, making it a little harder for the Warlock to directly deal with it. That's not it. That would have also not been it for the Giant, that would have still been 1 off, but now I think it's Carpet and Lackey, and you can still play the Direwolf. If you plan to play the Lackey, general rule of thumb is discover the spell first, then see if you want to play the Direwolf or if you'd rather play Demon Fire. There's no Demon on board. And of course you can't deal it to its opponent's face because it's a minion, but you know. And yeah. 1 health. 9 mana. So on the one hand, Hero Power Giggling Manor is now within reach. On the other, that's not gonna save you against lackeys that can kill you directly or anything like that, so you're probably gonna go Life Drinker. That brings you up to 7, but that's not enough on the board, so you might have to actually do the... because the Lightning Storm Life Drinker isn't gonna save you, so you probably have to go for the Giggling Manor here. I think you have to. Haunting Visions, what do you expect? Rain of Toads, probably the best outcome. Plus Lightning Storm, but that's not too dissimilar to just playing the Inventor, yeah. It takes 8 hits to get through that, and your opponent has 6 minions. Granted, Carpet is there. But yeah, now... yeah, Demon Fire's 2 minions, so you can... yeah, fair enough. You can take out all but 1 of the taunts, and your opponent's gonna be in the same situation as they were the turn before. That's Leroy. Leroy does in this case not actually save you, because again you would need 2 more hits. I think you just trade off the Annoyotrons as much as you can. Evil Recruiter, of course, being a little anti-synergistic with Thakan because you can't really upgrade your lackeys that much. It is probably worth considering doing it anyways because you're going from 2 health to 5. It's a minor upgrade, but you might as well. You also get the 3/3, so that's nice. I think you go for it. You're not gonna get a worse lackey. You're not gonna be 4/4s at the very least. That's how to go for it. Again, that's less of a necessity anywhere and more of a choice. You probably get to Styx, well, Lightning Storm and the board trades off perfectly. Hero power, another haunting defense is actually not that bad. You basically just get a second shot at it. Now Urshock is good, don't get me wrong, but you probably don't get enough use out of it. And you might just want a lightning storm, honestly. I mean, take the bolt or the hex, but lightning storm right now, you still have enough mana to hero power and life trigger, and trade off the entire board. Lightning storm first before you start trading, because okay, yeah, but still lightning storm first, because you don't know if there's going to be a high roll or a low roll. And yeah, the 1-2 probably goes into the 5-1, maybe the 2-1, and then the 3-4 goes into the 1-2. The reason why I keep the Annoytron here is exactly because of Leroy. So that makes sense. Because Leroy would have been lethal, because Leroy, Evil Recruiter, Grim Rally works, that's exactly lethal. With a taunt there, it's not. If you tap, you can still play Carpet, 1-drop, Grim Rally, and Leroy. This should be lethal. If I didn't miscalculate, this should be lethal. You basically just have to find it. Oh no, yeah, see, that's what I'm talking about with miscalculation. Wait, is it? Right, because of the tap, yeah. See, not enough mana. No, I think you just wait at this point, because Evil Recruiter, you can tempo it out. You could have done it last turn, as a matter of fact, more effectively. Now I'm just saying, I have the 7 damage. I can wait. The other life trigger, of course, is going to bring it up to 13 again. And also lethal, yeah, right. And that is it. Crowncooker has won this matchup 3-1. So, if you like this, there's of course more of this on our channel already, and more coming up in the coming days. And if you want to have direct contact with anyone who's in the tournament and us, I would recommend joining the TrashcanTV Discord channel if you want to see more of this content. Of course, as I said, this channel, subscribe to it, like the video if you enjoyed it, the typical stuff. Leave comments below if you have any suggestions or comments. I think that's pretty self-explanatory, and that's it.